how can someone build the trust with someone that's Native American?
Now here's my take on that.
Sure.
When we go somewhere, we don't try to recreate the wheel. We go to a area pastor that's near a reservation. He calls headquarters, and he says, "I want to reach into this culture, and I would like for brother and sister Harvey or brother and sister Reddy, which is also out here with us. We would like to have one of these couples come and work with our church for say 6 months or whatever or less, and see if we can have a preaching point or started on that reservation." So one of the first things we do, we look inside that congregation. Do you have any Native people in your church now? And a lot of times there are already 1 or 2 Native people in that church. And so we try to work with what's already there, because everybody that wins souls for the Lord has a circle of influence. And so let's say there's a man and a woman, husband and wife, that are Native, and they're only one couple, but they're in that church. We try to work with them so we can help them reach that circle, okay? And another thing that we do, especially because of COVID has opened up some opportunities, because on a lot of the reservations, you have Baptists and Methodists, and you've got Church of God, and you've got all kind of different denominational churches on these reservations. We found this to be so in the Dakotas. But for the most part, these little churches, they may be 25 over here, 30 here, 15 over here. These churches have been abandoned basically by their organizational moorings. And so we try to go among the Baptists and the Methodists and all these people, and we call them brother, we treat them as brother, and we share our concern that, hey, we all need each other right now, because the world and our country and the things that's happening in our culture, we need to join forces, and we need to really help one another. So we go on the reservation with this mindset. We communicate to them, we're here to help you. We don't want your money. We don't want anything. We just want to be a blessing to you. Now, my wife being Native really helps with that, because they see her and there's an element of trust that's already there, or absence of distrust. I don't know which one you'd call it. And so we try to work on that basis. And then a lot of times they'll say, well, we're so glad you're here. Can you preach for us Sunday? Can you do a Bible study with us? And then at some point in time, our goal is to take that little group of 20 people and introduce them to the pastor that's on outside of the reservation, and let there be fellowship. Let there be a harmony. And that pastor on the outside of the reservation now becomes that Native American pastor's friend. And so we connect the dots, and ultimately our hopes is that people will walk into a deeper walk with God. They will experience things that maybe they hadn't had their eyes open to. So it's all about us transferring this to the area pastor that's off the reservation, and him having a kind spirit. And through this, maybe this couple that's already Native, we can build upon some of the things that's already there. It would be hard to try to do it any other way. Well, it's hard. It would be almost impossible to do it any other way, because you need a reference point, because we're not always going to be there. And one of the things that the Native Americans in the times past, they have complained about, you come to preach to us and then you leave. That don't help us at all. And so our goal is not to go see someone pray through or receive, have an experience with Christ. But our goal is to see that, and to see that nurtured after we're gone.
Wow, that's really interesting. I know you mentioned at the beginning that when there were you mentioned something about the Mormons and the Catholics coming in, the reservations and things like that. Because of this, is there an understanding of the Bible? Is there an understanding of who Jesus is, or you have to completely build that?
I don't think you have to completely build it, but you have to expound upon it. What do you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I don't think they ever were really taught anything about scriptures. I think it was more control. They want to control them, because if they were given, if they were taught scriptures or did Bible studies and stuff, I think we would be in a different level, spiritually. But I think because I know, because when I was growing up, there was Catholics, Mormons, Methodists. I mean, they were on our reservations, and I went to these denominational churches, but I never learned anything. I never was taught anything about God or Jesus or anything, or never given scriptures to learn like we do in our churches today.
It's a superficial thing.
So it's just, I think they're bringing in these natives into the churches there were just, I don't know, just to say, hey, we got all these Indians in the church, or something like that. But I know by experience that I went to these churches and, didn't go to Sunday school, just sat in the church and they preached and stuff. I didn't learn anything. I didn't understand anything.
It's just like with the white people and everybody else. I mean, most of these churches nowadays, their message is, I'm okay, you're okay, and let's just have a good time.
Yeah,
and it's a place to go.
Yeah. And I guess that's why, like my husband said about the young men being baptized every time they came, it's basically like that, because, I would see a lot of these from different denominational churches come in, like these Methodists, from, let's say, California. They come down and they're a bunch, they're a youth group type thing. They come down and you'll see they're all over the reservation. Sometimes they'll pick a certain reservation, they'll go there. And I've seen it for my, like in my family, we had my mom and dad had an old rugged house. They had all these young people around there building, fixing the roof and stuff like that. And that's all they did. They didn't come to minister to the families that were living in that house. Or
if they did, it was just such a shallow thing.
Yeah.
Believe on Jesus Christ and let us baptize you. So they could write down on a piece of paper, okay, we got a convert, but it never addressed the heart of the people.
Yeah.
And so they become very religious, but
that's why they say, like you said, that's why they say, oh, are you just here just to baptize me and then go?
Yeah.
They don't dig deeper than that. They just on the surface, and that's it.
Like where we're at right now, there is a tribe called the Tohono O'odham tribe near Tucson. There is a young man here that is native, him and his dad and their children. And we are working right now because this young man used to play baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals. Big young man. And so what we're trying to do, we're trying to work with him and the local church to work, because the young people on this reservation here they're looking for mentors, they're looking for activities, they're looking for things to do. And so while we're here, we're trying to brainstorm this thing to where we can work with the native people that's in this church to offer some activities off that reservation where apostolic young people will actually come into the mix of that. And we're using wisdom that we can bring the gospel, but yet bring entertainment at the same time. So every tribe is so different. And we got to think out of the box. This is a different day. This is a different hour. And we just got to be wise in how we do these things.
How many reservations are there in the US? I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm curious.
564 that are federally recognized.
Wow.
That doesn't count the multitude of tribes that are not big enough to be federally recognized. And most of those are in Alaska.
Really?
Now, you probably got 200 in the United States, and the rest of them are in Alaska. Now you got to, don't forget Canada. Canada has got 610, but they call them reserves there. They don't call them reservations, because you got to remember the consensus, like my wife, okay, she's full-blood Navajo, but she did a DNA test and it come back that she's full-blood Navajo, but many years ago, back in her lineage, she has a full-blood Japanese ancestor.
Oh, wow.
So that gives credence to the theory that the ice bridge between Russia and Alaska, they came from the Orient, they came across, some stayed when they got to Canada, they stayed there and they were the Eskimos. But some of the rest of them kept on coming down south, 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 and then they split off and they split off. And this is where the Native American people came from. And they have Oriental somewhere down back there, most of them. Now they say that the Native people in Mexico either kept on coming down, or some of them came from Samoa and from across the Pacific Ocean. The Cherokees say that their ancestors came across the Atlantic Ocean, but for the most part, they came across the land bridge. And that's where all these tribes come from. We found Navajos in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know we had 564.
Yes.
A lot. That is a lot. And
7 million population.
wow. Yeah, I am a little embarrassed. I didn't know that, but that is really important to know as we're, ministering and helping and, and being sensitive that there are so many different ones. It's not just, Navajo, it's all the other ones. And I'm sure they all have their different customs, and being aware of that